So the next tool that we're going to explore here in our chatbot episode is how to use SchoolAI. Probably a tool that if you've watched our show, you know that we're pretty familiar with, and my guess is that you probably are as well. And so we're going to use SchoolAI to help us create a chatbot that we're going to then send out to students that are in our class so that they can interact with the chatbot and get a great learning experience from it. Way back in our first season, and we started to explore chatbots a little bit. Really, the only tool on the market at that time was OpenAI's Chat GPT Chat Builder. And one of the things that I did was to explore this idea that I had of creating an historical choose your own adventure style experience. And so we're going to play around with that using the tools within School AI now to create that activity that students can complete as well. So there's a couple of parts of School AI that we're going to need to be a little bit familiar with. And if you've watched our update that we did on School AI this season as well, you'll know that there's this area in here called assistance, and that there's all these different tools that teachers can use to help them create an experience that they're going to then share eventually with their students. And so I'm going to choose this one right here. It's called Space Designer. It says, I can help you design fun, engaging spaces for your students. And remember, those spaces are going to be those basically it's a chat interface that the student is going to be able to interact with the AI in that controlled environment. So really that space, if we think about it, is really a chatbot that the student will interact with. It's a GPT. So we're going to have them, we're going to use Space Designer here to have School AI help us develop kind of the prompt that we're going to use to drive that chatbot. And so I've started a prompt here, or some ideas that I had that I typed in on a different page that I'm just going to paste in here rather than trying to type it all in front of you. And this is just me kind of saying, here's what I wanted to do. I wanted to create a space for students to progress through a choose your own adventure style experience. The adventure is going to be in a historically accurate period of time of history. The student would interact as if they were actually there, so it immerses the student into the story. The student is presented with a story that progresses to a moment where they need to make a choice. The space would then offer 2 or 3 options for the student. The story would then resume factoring in the choice that the student made to the development of the story. This would progress for 5 or 6 rounds before concluding and asking the student to reflect. So I don't know, I haven't tried this here in School AI before, but I thought it would be kind of fun. Let's see what it comes up with for us in this Space Designer. So it says, this thinks it's a fantastic idea, but honestly, every idea that I've ever presented to AI, it always says is fantastic. And that's not just School AI, that's all of the different ones. So it leads through some different steps here to help do this. So step 1 is defining the role, the historical period. Are there figures or events that I want it to include? To provide it a task, what's the main goal? Are they trying to influence an event, to solve a mystery, or just simply survive? In step 3, to outline how the story should progress. Are there pivotal moments where they should make them? And then are there any sort of set requirements? So I'm going to give them, okay, so here I'm giving it a little bit more detail. I say step 1, include a famous person. Okay, so that they're going to interact with them. Step 2, I want the student to survive the experience, hopefully not giving them a brush with death. Step 3, as an example, I say, when you meet George Washington crossing the Delaware, are you going to A, jump in the boat, B, warn the British that they're coming, or C, maybe you tell them you're from the future and let them know that the Hessians were all passed out and sleeping. And so these are some of the things that might help it build a better space. So I'm going to add that into it. and it's putting those things that are in there and adding them to that. And so now I get to this point. What I would like to do is ask it to draft the prompt that I can use when creating this space. So I'm going to just say, this looks good. Draft the prompt for the space. And you'll see that what it's going to do is to basically give me the text that I'm going to then take to the space creator, which we're going to look at next as soon as this is done. Perfect. So I'm going to just highlight this information here and copy that. Now I'm going to go into this area here called spaces. And when you go, actually, I could probably show you the homepage here, and you'll see these on here too. If you were on the homepage, you could click create a space, or you can go up to the tab on the top. We can discover, maybe someone else has done this already and look for one, kind of like David did in exploring the GPTs that were available in ChatGPT. This would be something similar to that. And if I clicked on it, you could see it's going to show you other ones that you've made before. But it's also going to show some other recommended ones that have been made by other people, right? But I'm going to go and I'm going to use this to create a space. Okay. And I've got this spot here where I can go create. And I'm going to call this historical choose your own adventure. Okay. Now, remember that part that I copied from the Space Creator Assistant. I'm going to now paste into the AI prompt, right? So it's telling me these will be good instructions for that chatbot to interact with. Then I'm going to go through and I'm going to add that it generate all of the rest of the fields under the optional details. So what it's doing is it's going to design a cover image that will be what people see when they go to your space. It noticed you gave it an interactive American Revolutionary War adventure. So because I added things about Washington, it's going to try to clue it to that time period. If I wanted to fix that, I could probably go and change some of the description that's up there. But I think for our purposes right now, you're going to see it's going to work pretty well. And it added in a nice little image there. And I'm going to say, hey, okay, let's just skip this preview part. So let's save this. Let's save it first. Okay. When I save it first, what it's doing is it's reviewing this thing to see if this would be a space that meets their standards to add to that public directory. And if it didn't meet the public directory requirements, it would say you could still use this space. It's just going to be for your own. And so it took it, it created it. Now, when I'm ready to share this with students, I'm going to go click launch. And you'll notice that it's going to provide two different ways for me to share this to students. I can add this directly to Google Classroom if I have my SchoolAI account synced with my Google Classroom account. Even if I don't, and I just want students to use this, I can share this to them by giving them either a QR code that they can scan or a link directly to this particular space. And I could copy this and I could just paste that for them in a spot where they can access it. Excuse me. And then they're going to be able to interact with it. So I'm just going to copy that here right now. And I'm going to go open up a new tab. I'm going to paste that into this new tab that it opened up for me. So I'm going to just say, my student, I'm named Jeremy, and I would like to join. And it's going to open up this adventure for me. So now I'm here. It says, are you ready to jump into this epic tale of the American Revolutionary War? Yes, I am. And now it's going to start building in this story. Okay. So you'll notice here again, and this is kind of like what David had mentioned too, that's part of that prompting process, right? Sometimes you got to go back and rework it and iterate it. It gave me 2 sentences of a story here. If I wanted it to be a little bit longer than that, I would have to go back into those instructions and tell it to beef it up the length of the story. But still, we're right here to where we were. What path do we want to choose? Well, let's say we want to be right in the action with George Washington and here, then it's going to pick up and hopefully continue our story. Perfect. And as you can see, this part's a little bit longer. You know, if I was giving it feedback, I would say this is great. But it asks some more questions here. You know, what do you think would happen if it's successful? So it's getting me to reflect on some of that stuff here too. But I think you get the idea here that you can use both the space designer as well as the space creator within School AI to create these different experiences for your students. Now, I'm also going to then jump back here to this tab instead, because what I want to show you about School AI is as the teacher, I'm able to click on this and see the history of interaction that my student had with that chatbot. And I can go and review and make sure that that student is using it in an appropriate way. Which is, I think, one of the great things about School AI is that you're able to do that with those different spaces that you've created versus if I had them interact with, say, Gemini or even Gemini Gems or even ChatGPT, I, as the teacher, am not going to be able to see a history of those interactions. Those are kind of my ideas here. Now, how you're going to choose to create your own spaces for students, I'd be excited to hear more about. If you've got a great idea, hey, send us a message, drop a link in our comments, and we would love to promote those for you if you're willing to share them with us.
Really cool stuff.